Heyo, and what is up, Sledge Nation? Thank you for checking out Sledgehammer TV tonight. Let me ask you guys a question, Sledgeheads. How many different ways do you think the WWE can come up with to put the same exact show in front of us every single Monday night? It's actually somewhat impressive. Throughout the entirety of the pandemic and the last couple of weeks, most specifically, we have been given the exact same show with a few minor tweaks here and there to make you feel like, oh, maybe this is a new show, but it's not. And they didn't even try that hard tonight, as it was just a bunch of rematches and a lot of overly long talkative segments with 2 weeks away from Money in the Bank. And you did nothing on this episode to make me even remotely interested in anything you were doing on one of WWE's most pivotal pay-per-views of the year. We are going to talk about all of that and so much more right here and right now. My name is Nick Nightmare. You are watching the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show's Monday Night Raw review and reaction show. Let's bring the hammer down as only we can do. Let's do this.
Sledgehammer Wrestling Show.
You know, one of the things that makes Monday Night Raw suck so bad is they actually do things like give you matchups between two competitors that you would love to see, but then they raw all over themselves. And they ruin it by giving you bullshit finishes, wonky match endings, disqualifications, interferences. We talk about this ad nauseum week after week because it's just WWE's go-to. Even when they decide to do something cool, like a John Morrison versus a Ricochet, we get no finality to the matches. We get stupid endings. Even when they give us an AJ Styles versus a Matt Riddle, we get stupid finishes, ridiculous endings, and it's over and over again the same old shit. And they do the same things with the matches we don't want to see, like stupid tag team matches involving R-Truth and Elias and Jackson Riker and Cedric Alexander. That's a tag team match that came out of nowhere. It means absolutely nothing. Nobody wants to see anything about anything going on there. Why is that even on this show? But you don't have anything for Sheamus to do. The United States champions had a couple of weeks off because they can't rub two nickels together to come up with a dime and figure out a segment for good old Sheamus. But, you know, we're going to just go about business as usual. We're going to have Monday Night Raw open up with a Miz TV. It's going to be overly long. It's going to be the traditional way we hype up a Money in the Bank. We're going to have all Raw's Money in the Bank competitors come out. I guess they're not doing any more. They got their 4 guys for Raw in the match, so they're not doing any more qualifiers, so that's out the window. They all said some stupid shit. Some of this stupid shit included some really bad, rap battle between Johnny Drip Drip and Ricochet. It was like a rap spelling bee, and all it was T to the E to the R to the R to the I to the B to the L to the E. Holy shit, the 1980s called. They want their rhythm and rhyming style back. What am I watching, Monday Night Raw? Am I watching Breakin' 2, the Electric Boogaloo? Somebody call Turbo and Ozone. Get them down on Monday Night Raw to show these guys how to do a little pop and lock action. Robot. Alright, I got a little carried away. I'm nowhere near as good as those guys. They might be like 75 years old right now. But they move and dance and would be able to do that better than Ricochet doing his little R to the I to the C to the O to the... Why is he spelling out his name 1980s bebop style? Why are we watching Johnny Drip Drip spell his name D to the R to the... What are we doing? What is this fucking nonsense? Holy cow. I couldn't take it. That was not even the worst of it all. Matt Riddle came out and he went up to the top of the ladder, because he's a big pothead. So everybody could say, oh, Matt Riddle got high. Oh, look how high Matt Riddle is. I'm glad I was high while I was watching Monday Night Raw. because it makes it worth watching, or at least not worth watching, but it makes it tolerable to the point where I can get to the end. Because this kind of shit just gets me absolutely nowhere. Matt Riddle gets pushed off the top of the ladder by Omos, and he hurts his foot again. Yet, meanwhile, he's going to have a match later on with AJ Styles. Randy Orton's nowhere in sight, so there's no real follow-up to that. We don't know how Randy feels about Matt Riddle getting him involved in the Money in the Bank. We don't know any of that. None of the cool stuff that's going on is being emphasized. But we had that brawl that you know is going to happen because everybody was out there. Drew was out there. AJ was out there. Everybody was out there, and we had to have the brawl. And amongst everybody brawling with each other, you got The Miz sitting there in a wheelchair like a dick in the corner, just sitting there like, I'm in a wheelchair and I don't know what to do. First of all, how'd the wheelchair get in the ring? And then how'd the wheelchair and The Miz get out of the ring? I know they do this during commercial breaks so we don't see. I'm just saying. And this show was that in a nutshell. If you just take that whole opening segment, that's what Monday Night Raw is. It's a bunch of nonsense. Just like how they write Drew McIntyre's character. Holy cow. It has inspired me. Drew McIntyre and his whole shtick right now has inspired me to give to you a brand new Sledgehammer TV segment. Historical Nonsense with Daddy Drew McIntyre. This week on Historical Nonsense with Drew McIntyre, he wanted to tell us a story about how his sword was made from one of the fangs of the Loch Ness Monster. The Loch Ness Monster that does not exist officially. It does not officially exist. It's an imaginary animal. It's not real. Nor is that sword actually really a McIntyre family heirloom. Most people in the know, at least if you watch this show, I told you guys where he got that sword. He got that sword from Vince McMahon. It's Vince McMahon's personal sword. He gave it to Drew, and now he's got this whacked out story that he had this sword forged from the fang of a beast that doesn't exist. A beast that's no one's been able to find. You know, this is a long-running thing. First, it was stories about William Wallace. Then there were stories about the kings of Scotland. I think a couple of weeks ago we talked about Claymore kicking a dragon or some shit in the face. But these history lessons with Drew McIntyre are going to make the audience turn on this man. You know how we're all anticipating July 16th, not because we're going to have the Money in the Bank. You know they're going to ruin the Money in the Bank. It doesn't matter who's going to win the briefcase. That's going to go down the tubes before the year is out. But Money in the Bank is the return of the fans. And once we get to that, all the shows from now on are going to be like they used to be. And that, I think, is the one thing missing from pro wrestling more than anything else right now, especially pertaining to the WWE program on TV. And I think everything that they think is going to happen, all the things that they want to happen, is going to just blow up in their face. See, Drew McIntyre right now is suffering from Roman Reigns syndrome. They are just writing him some of the most awkward, ridiculous, babyface bullshit garbage. And when he walks out there with his Braveheart skirt on and his Vince McMahon Loch Ness Monster tooth sword, the crowd is going to boo him into oblivion. And they are going to cheer the shit out of a Bobby Lashley. Or it's just going to not be what the WWE is expecting. They're expecting us to cheer a guy like Jackson Riker right now. And while having him opposite Elias may help the fans in the live attendance, lean towards Jackson Riker, because most people hate Elias maybe more because they've had to suffer and endure more from Elias for a longer amount of time. I don't think it's going to be the turnaround they expect. Just like they expect us to get excited on Monday Night Raw tonight when they give us John Morrison versus Ricochet. Now, I would be excited about this if I didn't already fucking see this on last Monday's Raw. This match was completely unnecessary. You had the Money in the Bank segment to open this show. It was long enough. It was boring enough. You didn't need to follow it up with unnecessary matches. That should have been like the segment. That's it. That's all we should have seen from these guys. Maybe it should have been the segment to close the show. I am never a proponent to make Miz TV the main event of any show, anywhere, at any time. But in this situation where it's promoting the main event of a pay-per-view that's right around the corner, you can make exceptions, especially when maybe you want to tell the story of Matt Riddle breaking his leg. You know what I mean? Make it a cliffhanger at the end of the show. Oh my God, is Matt Riddle going to be able to make it to Money in the Bank now? We already know that because he's going to go out and compete tonight. There's just no consistency with the way they book anything, and it's driving me absolutely batshit crazy. And John Morrison and Ricochet go out there tonight in a rematch from just 7 days ago. They give them ample amount of time. And these guys put on a good match. I liked the match from last week a little bit better. There were some wonky spots in this match. As good as this match was, credit to both men. They're tremendous athletes. They are phenomenal at their job. But there were a few of those really weird kind of twisty body / flippy spots that don't even look like they hurt. Case in point, there was one instance in the match that led to the finish. John Morrison was standing outside the ring on the apron. Ricochet bounced off the ropes. I thought he was going to splash him off of the apron and both of them would just go crashing to the arena floor. But he, started twisting his body, and then John Morrison did like his own little twists on his way down, so it didn't really look like anything, and it looked like the two of them just fell. And then to finish this match, which had some decent action, which we're not going to lie, they decided to finish it via countout, giving the win here to John Morrison because The Miz was rolling his fucking wheelchair in the way of Ricochet, and Ricochet was so hurt by his own move that he couldn't get up on his feet and get past a man in a fucking wheelchair. Can you beat a man I could beat a man in a wheelchair on my knees. Unless he's like a professional, Special Olympic athlete, that does, the wheelchair racing and stuff. That's a whole nother level of athlete that I couldn't compete against, but I'm pretty sure I could beat an average person in a wheelchair to the ring from the bottom of the ramp. I'm not talking about running a fucking marathon. We're talking about 5 feet. You couldn't scramble on your fucking hands and knees to get past The Miz, who's moving at about half a mile an hour, maybe even less, in a fucking wheelchair. Are you kidding me? This is what I gotta watch. This is how Ricochet's losing now? Couldn't we have just left it last week? We had a double count out. We had no winner. And you should have just let that hang until they faced again at Money in the Bank. But no, you had to give a win to John Morrison, which means next week in their rematch, they had the balls to book another rematch, to book this match again on the Go Home show next week, where Ricochet will inevitably get his 50-50 booking win back. You'll have to tune in to see what we have to say about that when it happens. You know what I wish didn't happen? Was anything involving the women's division tonight. They took everything that they're doing except for Charlotte and Rhea, which is a whole nother conundrum we're going to get into a little bit later on. And they just took everybody else and threw them in an 8-woman tag team match. Nothing to it, no ramifications, nothing at stake. It was Eva Marie, Blue Buns herself, Dewdrop, if you want to call her that, Piper Niven, teaming up with Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler, of course, with Reggie in tow. And they were taking on Nikki Ass, Alexa Bliss, Naomi, and Asuka. Just looking at this lineup, there is one of these things are not like the other, and that's the placement and the use of Alexa Bliss. Alexa Bliss is a babyface? Is she? I don't know. She's going after Shayna Baszler. She's acting like a heel. She's a fucking demon, which shouldn't really be a babyface thing, especially coming off of what was going on with Bray Wyatt. And it's very confusing to have her on the good guys side of this equation as she's being teamed with her longtime partner, Nikki Cross. There is nothing being acknowledged there at all. In fact, in a pre-match promo, Nikki Cross was back there doing some more of the worst promo stuff ever. Now, I want to give her props, and I want you guys to understand. I'm not trying to disrespect the girl at all. I want to say that I do respect her because this apparently was her idea. This is her gimmick. This is her bag, and she's going out there and she's trying to make it work. It's not her fault that maybe the WWE came up with the outfit. Like, maybe this is her idea and she's putting her heart and soul into it, but they came up with this outfit. They gave her this ridiculous name. Nikki Ash is a terrible name. I'm thinking they only did that because Cross from Killer Cross is on his way. Karrion Cross is coming to the main roster soon, and we can't have two characters with the same last name that aren't related. You know, people aren't smart or complex enough to wrap their heads around that. But then they don't even have it changed in her Titantron. She's got superhero music now. Asuka always wanted to team with a superhero, but she says, well, but you're not Black Widow. So let's fucking knock her. Let's knock her while we're trying to build her up as a big deal. And, oh, by the way, this match was unnecessary. It was not great. And the win went to the team of Eva Marie, Blue Buns, Dewdrop, Nia Jax, and Shayna Baszler. And who got the loss? That's right, Nikki Ass. Nikki Ass, 1 week after getting her first big win, couple of weeks into her new gimmick, is getting pinned to the mat and losing. Who cares about any of the things going on here? And while we're at it, before we move on to the next thing, how stupid are they making Piper Niven and Eva Marie look? Now, we are not fans of all pink everything, okay? We are fans of Piper Niven. I really enjoyed her work in the Mae Young Classic. I liked what she was doing in NXT UK. I don't understand how they can write these girls week after week to be screwing each other over, stabbing each other in the back, yet every week they're still coming out as a team. What do they think is going to happen? Why are they still friends? Why are they not at this point, after screwing each other over for the last 3, maybe 4 weeks? In fact, this has been going on since the day Eva debuted with Blue Buns on the main roster. How has it been a month and nothing's been said? You don't see any tension between them, only when the match is happening. But yet they're still friends, and they're still hanging out together, and she's still coming out with Eva. And I don't understand what normal person with intelligence would fucking do that. So it just makes them look really, really dumb. Just about as dumb as the entirety of this 8-woman tag team matchup, where Eva and her team defeated Nikki, the superhero, and her team. Does that make Eva the supervillain? She's picking on the chubby girl, she's teaming with the other bad girls, and she's fighting against the superhero, but the superhero's being teamed with the mega demon, with the magic, who's trying to possess Reginald. What? That's a sentence that I just said, talking about Monday Night Raw. Another reason why I hate watching Monday Night Raw. Mustafa Ali defeated Mansoor in less than 3 minutes. Now, here's something where you look at it on the surface and you want to tear it apart, because these two guys could have gave us a really fucking great match. But there's something going on here. There's a story they're trying to tell where Ali's trying to manipulate Mansoor into following him, and here he's trying to prove a point where Mansoor got himself caught up in the ropes and Ali would let him out. It allowed him to get in Mansoor's head just slightly enough so that he could beat him with the most dreaded move of all time, the Flash roll-up, for the win. And Ali was just kind of telling him, I told you so. He's trying to teach him not to trust anybody. And I understand that, but I think they could have gave them a little more than 3 minutes. You could have let these guys have some time. We certainly didn't need all that time for the opening segment. We didn't need 10 minutes for the women's 8-man tag team matchup, 8-woman tag team matchup. It could have and would have been better put to use here. This is a story that I'm interested in seeing how it plays out. Okay, but they have the potential to ruin this, as we all know. We'll have to wait and see what happens. Earlier in this show, we seen Jinder Mahal pull up on a motorcycle just like the American badass Undertaker used to pull into the arena back in the 2000s. And if I ever seen something so unnatural on Monday Night Raw before, then I can't figure it out. This guy, I don't think this guy's a motorcycle guy. He comes riding in on his motorcycle with a big goofy smile on his face, like, look at me, Mom, I'm riding a motorcycle. He didn't look very comfortable. He looked like he was about to break and laugh the whole time. It just looked awkward. He didn't look cool getting off it. And he had this motorcycle because he wanted to tell us some story about how he wanted to ride his motorcycle with Drew, but Drew was too busy because he was, the fucking world champion. Too busy to be riding motorcycles with a fucking loser. Right? So he's also mad because in the text he sent him, instead of spelling out the word I'm too busy, he used the number 2, as some people use the numbers and the letters and the emojis in the text, to shorten things because he don't have enough time. I wouldn't spend the time to write out the word 2 to fucking Jinder Mahal either, especially if I'm the world champion. I'm too busy for you, man. I don't care that we were friends before. Right now, I'm doing my thing. I don't give a shit about no Jinder Mahal. I don't blame Drew McIntyre for not giving a shit about Jinder Mahal. But using this as the basis for Jinder Mahal wanting to beat up Drew McIntyre tonight as they have just some randomly scheduled match with one another for no reason, the only reason we can come up with is because Jinder's mad about a text. No mention... No real deep dive mention into maybe something that happened while they were in 3MB. Jinder Mahal not making mention of the fact that, he got there first. Drew is only doing something he's already done. You could go so many places with this. But they made this about a text message. And then after Drew McIntyre beats Jinder Mahal by disqualification because Schmear and Stanky, his new Authors of Pain sidekicks, the Singh brothers, all jacked up, they decided to get involved, of course, because they got to protect Jinder. So they give Drew the win via disqualification. And then Jinder steals the Loch Ness Monster's tooth sword that Vince McMahon gave to Drew McIntyre. And now Jinder says, since I can't have your spot, since you stole my spot, I'm going to steal your sword. Because they can't think of any other fucking reason for two grown men that actually have history in the wrestling business to feud other than, hey, you stole my stuff. Once again, let's go on record. I am no fan of Jinder Mahal, but this feud could have been so much more. You could have at least tried to make it interesting. Instead, you're making it about the Loch Ness Monster's tooth and Jinder Mahal's text fucking messages. 10 minutes wasted on this match. This is something that shouldn't even have been on this show. This is something that should be being built towards. You barely even threw any hints out there that this was going to happen. Jinder Mahal didn't look great, as usual. It looks like he missed pulling off his finishing move. Not intentionally, like he actually missed it. Like I'm sure there was going to be a way Drew was going to get out of it. But there was some weird miscommunication. That was a lot tonight. I seen that a lot in the ring. Small little things. but I happened to notice. We had a New Day promo in the back talking about how they're going to beat Bobby Lashley and MVP tonight in a tag team match that was supposed to just be Bobby Lashley versus Xavier Woods in a rematch. But due to what happened last week between Kofi and MVP, they turned this into a tag team match. So I understand why they did it. What I don't understand is why Bobby Lashley spent all week talking about this one-on-one match. Even after the tag team match was announced a couple of days ago, he was trying to push his match versus Xavier Woods. I guess he doesn't stay up to date at WWE.com, or you would, at the very least, think WWE would reach out and let the poor guy know, hey, listen, this is what's changing. Why don't you make sure you talk about that instead? The Lucha House Party showed up out of nowhere and defeated Mush and Teabag in less than 5 minutes. The WWE once again has failed both of these teams in one segment. First of all, we haven't seen hide nor hair of either of these teams in fucking weeks. Last time we seen them, they were fighting each other, and Mace and T-Bar absolutely annihilated the Loser House Party, making them look like a couple of glorified jobbers. Tonight, the Loser House Party comes out. Lince Dorado's wearing a Kane-inspired mask, and I guess that gave them ultimate power. I don't get it. They beat this team that is twice their size by doing very little. There wasn't some crazy spot that, you could have really sold, oh man, well, I buy that. No. They just lost to some simple lucha-inspired maneuvers that we've seen over and over. This was a clear case of 50-50 booking, and another case where I could point and show you guys why nobody gets over, because from one week to the next, everybody's a loser. Everybody. Nobody came out looking good in this match. Not even the Loser House Party. They pulled it off as a big upset victory. Oh my God, what an upset. Not as upset as I was, because this is going nowhere. This is a never-ending circle of the only two fucking tag teams in the division on Monday Night Raw. Because all the other tag teams are doing other shit, like wrestling in the Money in the Bank match. World Tag Team Champions AJ Styles and Omos were on Raw tonight. AJ took on Matt Riddle. Once again, Matt Riddle's in a tag team with Randy Orton, but instead of building them in the tag team division, Money in the Bank. So this was a very enjoyable match, because these guys are both, no pun intended, phenomenal at what they do. AJ Styles put on a great performance, made Matt Riddle look like a star. Matt Riddle made AJ Styles look like the legend he has built himself to be. What ruins this match is the finish, because the Viking Raider Warrior Raiders showed up again in a repeat of what they did last week. But instead of attacking Omos and causing him to go through the barricade, they just kind of stalked around the ring, causing a distraction long enough for Matt Riddle to get the win over AJ Styles. This was crazy to me. I just, first of all, again, this is a match that deserves better than just a random booking leading into a Money in the Bank matchup. And AJ Styles, the champion in this situation, losing the match by pinfall, even though it was due to a distraction, is one of the big no-nos, one of the biggest things wrong that the WWE does consistently. Giving this win to Matt Riddle for what? For what? For him to tell Randy he loves him? Huh? Riddle me that, everybody. We forgot to pull that up because we had Drew's history. Riddle me this. Riddle me this, everybody. Where the fuck is Randy Orton? Why is Matt Riddle telling him he loves him on Monday Night Raw? I love you, Randy. I'm so high, I love you, bro. Look what I do, man. I wrestle with broken feet. This guy's got a broken foot in a cast. He's beating AJ Styles on Monday Night Raw. What are you fucking kidding me? Thanks, Viking Raider Warrior Raider Raiders, for butting into something that has nothing to do with you. Ridiculous. And while we're talking about the ridiculous, let's talk about the Charlotte Flair segment, and let's talk about it quickly. This was terrible. Charlotte Flair's coming out trying to sell an injury. She's walking out there on crutches. Rhea Ripley comes out. She's walking out on crutches, making fun of Charlotte Flair. There was a whole bunch of stupidness that happened. She's talking about how she might miss Money in the Bank. I don't care about anything that's happening here. Rhea Ripley, she was just mocking Charlotte. She pretended to struggle down the ramp. She says that she could play the game Charlotte's playing better than the Queen can. And of course, Charlotte's leg was just fine after she kicked the crutch away from the Queen. They were both standing there leaning on their crutches. They both kicked the crutches away and they're both fucking standing there. They tried to attack each other. But this was retarded. This really was. It was retarded. It just makes Rhea Ripley look stupid. She makes such a ridiculous face. She makes this stupid face that's somewhere between evil and cringy. Actually, no, it's just 100% cringy. And she continues to just be an absolutely vapid character. There's nothing to her. She's literally just the evil doppelganger of Charlotte Flair. Her whole existence is tied to that of Charlotte Flair. And once she loses the Women's Championship, inevitably to the inevitable Charlotte Flair, she's going to fade into the darkness of Monday Night Raw with the rest of them. They'll probably change her into a fucking superhero, give her a dumb, stupid name, and team her up with Nikki Cross. Actually, that might be an improvement from the Rhea Ripley that we've had to suffer throughout this year of Monday Night Raw. Jackson Ryker and R-Truth defeated Elias and Cedric Alexander. This match went 1 minute. First of all, Cedric Alexander, how far he has fallen, man. He went from being right up there with the Hurt Business to being on the cusp of a big push, beating Shelton Benjamin a couple of times, to losing to a schmuck like Jackson Ryker because Elias walked out on their tag team match. Why is he even being booked as a tag team partner with Elias? But why is R-Truth being booked with Jackson Ryker? This is a complete mindfuck of a match. It doesn't make any sense. It's just an excuse to put Ryker and Elias back in the ring together. You know this match didn't mean anything and wasn't serious at all because it also involved some of the, hey, look at me, I'm a clown, 24/7 gold-plated avocado-colored title belt that pops in and out of this show whenever the WWE needs to fill a few minutes here and there and wants to make me go throw up a little bit. 2 years we've been suffering with this 24/7 title. It has done absolutely nothing but give me acid reflux and make me want to change the channels. C to the H to the A to the N to the N to the E to the L. Oh, nice catch. You almost dropped the. Anyway, then they have the balls to announce for next week's Raw a rematch. Ricochet versus John Morrison. A rematch. Sheamus versus Humberto Carrillo for the 500th time. But hey, at least they remembered that Sheamus is on the fucking roster next week. And then they took the tag team champions and they split them into 2 separate matches to face the Viking Raider Warrior Raider Raiders, which is just a continuation of what has been going on. It's the last team that they fought and defeated for the tag team championships last time I checked. So Omos makes his in-ring debut facing Eric, and AJ Styles will face Ivar. And then they announced for the first show back live in front of fans, AJ and Omos are going to face the Viking Raider Warrior Raider Raiders in a tag team match defending their titles. So guess what? We're going to see this over and over again for the next couple of weeks. Maybe the Viking Raiders win the titles. Maybe not. Let's tune in and find out, I guess. That's going to probably be the best Raw of the year. It's going to feel like a Raw after Mania. The live crowd coming back to the show. should bring a lot to it. So I am excited for this particular episode, though I'm not so much excited for the title match, but you know the WWE was going to book some championship match for that show when the fans come back. Then we had the main event. Kofi Kingston and Xavier Woods defeated Lashley and MVP in the main event tag team match. Was given a decent amount of time, but looked like there was some real miscommunication is really the only word. There was a lack of chemistry tonight. None of these guys looked to really be on their game, and I'm a huge proponent for all of the gentlemen involved in this matchup. They're usually some of the most entertaining stuff that we see. Bobby Lashley especially, just tonight looked a little bit off his game. They looked like they could have done better, and I guess that's just me nitpicking. This was a wasted match. This was a wasted main event just to further a storyline that's not really going anywhere. I do have high hopes, however, that this is going to lead to something after the draft. If in fact Big E is moved to Monday Night Raw, I think this is a great thing. That would be a great way to start planting seeds for a huge battle between Lashley and E for the championship down the line. Who else is there? Send Drew to fucking SmackDown. Bring Big E to Monday Night Raw. And now everything that's happening now that seems kind of pointless and seems kind of stuck in the mud and like they're wasting their time becomes meaningful. It adds more when Big E shows up because he's going to be avenging his friends on top of trying to fulfill his dream of getting his hands on the WWE Championship. That's the story I hope that they're going to tell. But knowing them, they're going to have them lose, right? They'll have Big E show up, challenge Bobby Lashley and lose, and then come out on Monday Night Raw the next night spelling letters. B to the I to the G to the E. Fucking idiots. And that was Monday Night Raw, you guys. Absolutely. If there was one word to sum up this show, it would be uneventful. Uneventful. And that could be worse than being boring. Because while we had some good in-ring action, though most of it was rematches and lots of stuff that we've seen before in these matches, it's just nothing's progressing. Nothing's moving. Which makes me wonder and hunger more for that precious day that they claim to be waiting for. They claim to be waiting for fans to return to turn this show around. I've heard this promise before. I don't believe them. But we're almost there. We can hope, can't we? If we're not at least hoping for the best, then why are we watching? I watch every week hoping that this is going to be the week that's going to floor me and turn the corner and bring WWE back up to speed again. It's the hope that keeps me going. But by the end of a 3-hour Raw like this, all hope is usually lost, and it takes about 5 or 6 days to build it back up. SmackDown usually helps build it back up a little bit. This week we got kind of screwed. We had some technical difficulties. We didn't get to talk about SmackDown this week, but it felt a lot like a Monday Night Raw because Roman didn't even feel the need to fucking show up. He buried the entire roster, so there's nobody in the company that's even ready to take the baton from him to be the number one guy, saying the same shtick John Cena's been saying for 20 years. And then he's like, yeah, I believe that so much, I'm not even going to go to fucking SmackDown this week. Fuck them. Fuck them. And then SmackDown proceeded to give us a bunch of rematches anyway. So we didn't miss talking about anything. That was just as uneventful as this, although it was slightly more tolerable for some strange reason. We are going to talk about this week's SmackDown Friday now that we got things back up and running. I would like to upgrade things, but that means we would need a little bit more support, which would bring a little bit more cash to this channel, which would bring a little bit more profit, which could make me buy some new stuff. And in order to do that, I need you guys to support me any way you can. You don't have to buy merch, although you could. It'll be in the description down below. You don't have to become a member of this channel when I offer memberships, but that will be coming to the channel soon. But what you could do, which don't cost a dime, is hit that subscribe button. Become a Sledgehead of Sledge Nation as we continue to try to dominate the world of YouTube wrestling one sub at a time. That would be your cue to bring your hammer down on the subscribe button. And then hit the notification bell right next to it to make sure you don't miss anything whenever the hammer gets dropped on whatever I feel like dropping it on. Most of the times it's usually WWE. But we do have other things like our Masters of the Universe reaction, our Resident Evil gameplay, and so much more plastered across this channel. Go check it all out. If it's not linked in the annotations up above, you can see it all on the channel homepage as well. And make sure, no matter what you're watching, especially with this video right now, if you enjoy yourself, if you have a good time in any way, if you agree with what I have to say, hit that thumbs up button. It really, 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 really helps me out if you could do that. If the very least you could do is hit a tiny fucking thumb with a mouse. Just pick up your little mouse and you go, boom, thumb, clicked. It's very simple. The least you could do. And then leave your comments in the comments section below. As always, I love hearing your thoughts and opinions on this railroad of trash that continues to be really awful wrestling known as Monday Night Raw. My name is Nick Nightmare. This is the team, Thor the Sledgehammer, the official Sledgehammer of the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show. His tag team partner, the World Heavyweight Champion of all the microphones in all the world, Mr. Blue the Yeti microphone, the most important member of the team, as always, each and every one of you. That, my friends, is going to do it. We are out of here, and we will see you next time right here on your new favorite wrestling show, the Sledgehammer Wrestling Show, only on Sledgehammer TV, right here on YouTube.com. Boom! And, by the way, as always.
Thanks, Vince.